Okay, so this is my 1991 Yokomo YZ10, or 91 Works Yokomo YZ10, that's been completely overhauled. So if you go back through my video history, you'll see one or two videos, I think, where I talk about the 91 Works, and that exact chassis that I showed in that video is this guy with a lot of new stuff in it. So, where should I start? First thing I'll start with are the carbon fiber pieces. So the upper deck, the lower deck, the front and rear shock towers, these are all reproduced in carbon fiber. These are from Fiberlight. If you go to their website and you look under the RC Cars Yokomo section, they have a new link in there for YZ10 Works. And you click on that and you'll see all of these parts for the 91 plus the 92 front and rear shock towers and the 93 front and rear shock towers. Those were all reproduced with parts that I sent out to them, and they sent me back the originals, and I paid for these and they sent me these. I also have the repro versions of the front and rear 92 towers and 93. Basically everything on that page there is stuff that I purchased from them, having sent the parts out for them to reproduce. So you guys can go buy that now anytime you want. So I wanted this 91 restoration to be somewhat special, so I decided to go with the carbon fiber on this rather than the original parts. I also did a few other things. For example, these white suspension arms are made of Delrin. They're from Dynatech Racing. And if you look at some of my RC10 videos, I talk about the Dynatech arms for the RC10. It's the same material that they make it using the same techniques. And as a result of that, you do have to do a little bit of dremeling to get it to fit. You have to round off the inside of the arms, for example, because it comes all square. So you got to round that off to make sure that it doesn't rub against the bulkhead as the suspension arm moves around. You have to bore out the front, the inside and outside hinge pin holes. They're drilled, I think it's 3 millimeters, but the hinge pin's also 3 millimeters. So you actually need a little bit more than 3 millimeters to get a nice smooth fit to the hinge pin. So what I do is I take a drill bit that's smaller than 3 millimeters, and I just sort of I put it in my Dremel and I circulate it around the hole bit by bit, for a couple, 10, 20 seconds or so, and then I iteratively check it, the hinge pin fit inside the hole until it's nice and smooth. Also, what I had to do for these arms, I had to shave off a bit from the front here, as well as on the rear arms I had to shave off a little bit here as well, because these little brace pieces on the front and rear are fatter than on the stock arms, so the stock hinge pin isn't long enough to accommodate that. You could get a longer hinge pin, or you can shave off either the front part here or the back or both to accommodate the stock hinge pin. Okay, so those are all set. Let's see, what else did I do that was different here? The motor mount is an aluminum motor mount made by GPM. As far as I can tell, it's quite rare. I got it in one of my parts hauls when I was collecting other Yokomo Works chassis and parts and things, and the seller included this as part of the sale, and it's quite nice, very good condition. The difference between this and the Suzuki motor mount is that the Suzuki mount is a 3-piece. You have one piece for the motor plate, then one piece for this bit here, and then another piece to brace these two plates together. This is a 2-piece unit, so this bit here and the brace is part of one sort of L-shaped piece, and that screws against the plate with 2 screws on the other side. And what that means is, okay, so there's that part, and there's also the fact that there's no cap here. This is an enclosed hole here. So when you mount the center lay shaft, you actually have to take this unit apart and then mount this, and then put the motor mount together, and then put it on the chassis. That does mean that if you need to take the lay shaft out for some reason, it's more involved surgery, because on the conventional motor mount, there's a cap that goes on top, and you just take that off, and you can take the lay shaft out without really doing anything else. But here, since this car is a shelf queen, and of course I'm not going to be really working on this, I decided to use this motor mount for this project. The 91 Works, as you may or may not remember, uses 2 millimeter fine pitch belts. So that's what I have here, front and rear. And what that effectively means is that at least without substantial modification, I had to use the stock center lace shaft. I do have some spare slipper clutch units, but those mount on a different lace shaft, which has a 3mm pulley for the 3mm pitch belts that go on all of the other YZ10s. I could probably take this 2mm center pulley here off and put it onto that lace shaft, but the problem is really with the pulley on this side here that drives the rear differential, because one of the plates that connects to the slipper clutch, I think it's a one-piece unit that connects to that's part of that pulley, and that whole unit uses a 3mm pulley, so you would not really be able to use that on a 91 Works without going to a 3mm pulley or type of rear differential here. So I wanted to keep this true to the 91 using 2mm front and rear belts, so I had to use the stock lace shaft. These battery braces here are made out of fiberglass, G10 fiberglass. They're actually made by one of the members on rc10talk.com. I sent him the original battery brace units. He wanted to have them as a template to reproduce, and so he made these for me as sort of payment for that. And I figured that the white color would go very well with this whole theme here with the white suspension arms and the white bulkhead caps. And I think it looks really nice. So these are, as of now, at least one-of-a-kind units. The front and rear shocks are actually brand new in package. Again, one of the parts hauls that I had for Yokomo Works stuff, the owner included new in package front and rear Works shocks. So these are brand new, no scratches, no nothing. The only problem I had was that the front springs, actually I have those right here, even though they were new in package and the package was sealed, they, maybe you can't see it from the focus, but they oxidized quite a bit. They rusted out. The rear springs are perfectly fine, but somehow, even though they're in the same exact package, these front springs didn't fare so well over the 20 or so years that those shocks were stored in their package. So I had to use the front springs that I got from the 91 Works that I bought that was in the previous video. No big deal there. They don't have the exact shine and luster of the brand new rear springs, but they still look okay. So, I'm not too concerned about that. Other modifications I made, as you can see, these are black battery posts. The older, all of the YZ10s that are based on the 870C, so that's the 870, and all of the Works models use white battery posts. The black ones started with the 94 YZ10. But I figured, okay, well, I'm going to do carbon fiber here, and this is kind of a black, silver, and white theme. Why don't I use black battery posts? And again, I think that looks appropriate. Let's see, we have an RCPS front steering brace, new in package. This is, I think, very appropriate for the 91 because the 91 Worlds YZ10 that Cliff Lett used to win the 91 Worlds, I believe it had this brace on it, the RCPS brace. So I thought I'd include this for the 91. What else stands out? One thing that I actually learned while building this is another sort of very fine detail that distinguishes the 91 Works from the 92 Works YZ10. So the superficial ones that stand out are the 92 Works uses 3mm belts, the 91 is the only one to use 2mm belts. Okay, that's one of them. The second one are the front and rear shock towers. Right, these are obvious. The front shock towers in the 91 have a concave outer surface here. The 92 towers have sort of actually these are convex. The 92 have sort of a concave outer surface. And in the rear, the 91 top part of this tower is flat. And on the 92, it sort of tapers over a bit. Okay, so that's a very quick way to tell if you have a 92 Works or 91 Works. Check the belts. Check the shock towers. But another finer detail has to do with the front steering knuckles. Actually, I'll get to that in a second. The third thing to distinguish between a 92 and a 91 Works is the rear hub carrier. Maybe it's a little hard to see in here, but the rear hub carrier is a different piece for the 91. It was only used on the 91 works. The part that's used on the 92 works for the rear hub carrier is the same between the 92, the 93 works, and the 94 YZ10. So to make sure you have a true 91 works, also check the rear hub carrier. Okay, it's the only car to use that specific part, even though it's maybe a little hard to see. On the front steering knuckles, what's interesting here is the actual steering knuckle itself and the caster block is the same between the 91, the 92, and the 93 YZ10. Although in the 93 YZ10, the caster block has a little lip out here with an extra hole that goes to an extra tie rod, but fundamentally they're still the same unit. On the 92 and 93 works, the steering knuckle is mounted to the caster blocks with king pins. But the way it mounts here is there's a 3x10mm screw that goes in either side with a washer between the screw and the caster block, and then a little spacer, kind of like those old Tamiya sort of bronze spacers that you put around their screws. Same kind of thing here, but it's silver colored. And that's how the 91 front knuckles are mounted. So it's actually better to use kingpins, but because, you know, this is a 91, I wanted to try to stay true to the 91 as much as I could. I decided to stick with this kind of assembly here. And as you can see, there's a bit of play here vertically because those little spacers that go around the screw are actually too, well, I wouldn't say they're too long. Maybe you can argue that the caster block itself offers too much space for the knuckle to move around. But that's easy to fix. I can just say take out the bottom screw and put a few extra washers in there or something, or do the same for the top depending on where I want the front knuckle to ultimately sit. But that's another sort of very, I guess, minor detail that separates the 91 works from the 92. Okay, let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Everything else that's on here, for the most part at least, is original to the 91 works that I got. Like, you know, these gold colored ball studs with the white ball cups, the turnbuckles, the bulkheads. They're front and rear aluminum bulkheads. I did change some of the hex screws because some of them were rusted out, so I just got some new hex screws and put them on there. Let's see, what else comes to mind? Ah, yes, the rear wing. So the mounting holes for the wing mounts on the 91 YZ10 are here on the shock tower, okay? Now this white wing I got, again, from a parts haul. The holes are already cut out, I think for the 93 works, which have wider separation between these wing mounts. So all you really have to do is just take some wing wire, like I took an RC10 wing wire kit, I just cut it, and if I just flip this over, you can kind of see, you know, you just make it go straight, and then you bend it outwards, so that when you mount the wing buttons through those, it'll slot through and everything looks fine. So that way you can use these wider mounting holes on a narrower wing mount here, and that seems to work okay. So I think this is it for the 91. Of course, you know, I have an under tray I'm going to put on here, and I have a body that's already painted. I have most of the decals on it, but since it's not completely done yet, I'm waiting on a few more decals to come in. I'm not ready to show that yet, but I at least wanted to show the rolling chassis here, and I'm quite happy with it. I think this is one of my better builds that I've done. So hope you enjoy this, and I do have a lot of other YZ10 projects coming up, just to give you a sense of what's going on here. This is a 92 works YZ10. I'm going to restore this, clean it up. I have a 93 works YZ10 that I need to build. I'm going to probably make this a runner because I already have a 93 shelfer. Under here I have two 870Cs that I'll be working on. One of them's kind of halfway done. That's a runner. There's another 93 YZ10. I'll probably make this a runner as well. So a bunch of YZ10 projects coming up, and of course I plan on making as many videos as I can of these. So that's it for now, and thank you for watching.